Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Farthest Star science fiction skirmish game for one or more players. This game can also be played as a role-playing game. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, please check out the playlist in the description below. In this part we are going to take a look at the scenarios, the campaigns, optional rules and many other things. I am also going to give you my final thoughts on the game. Let's start talking about these scenarios and campaigns. One of the best things about skirmish miniature battle games like Farthest Star is their ability to straddle the line between tabletop battles and role-playing games. Characters will soon take on lives and personalities of their own, as they survive battles, suffer injuries, and triumph over their foes. Farthest Star utilizes a detailed post-battle sequence to frame an organized campaign games. Players will be able to track the fates of injured characters, earn income, add new members to their forces, and track the success of their bands as they accomplish campaign goals or suffer defeats. Farthest Star offers both player versus player and solo/co-op gameplay. While these different modes of play each feature their own inherent dynamics, you will use the same basic campaign round tracking structure to chart their crew's progress. And don't worry, this review isn't going to contain spoilers. That way, you will be able to surprise yourself as you are playing the different scenarios in your own short campaign, or if you are playing a one-shot, of course, or maybe a longer campaign as well. Each scenario includes both player versus player and solo/co-op nodes to clarify aspects specific to those modes of play. If you encounter some gray area the rules did not anticipate, hash it out with your opponent. If you are playing solo or co-op, remember to use a chance roll if you can't easily arrive at some reasonable course of action. On a 2+, rule in your favor, but anything less rules in favor of the artificial intelligence. Let's talk about the campaign round. You can have lots of fun playing one-off battles using the scenarios presented in the core rulebook. However, Farthest Star really shines when you play it campaign style. A campaign is a linked series of games that tell a collective story. Players can take their crews through these games using the pertinent rules. Your very first campaign round of a new campaign will start with a card draw from a shuffled 52 card deck. This will get you started on your first scenario. From there, every campaign round will start with you playing out a scenario on the tabletop and then dealing with the repercussions of victory, defeat, or stalemate. Then you will move on to the post-battle activity that will give Farthest Star its roleplay feel. Your crew members can fan out and try to earn extra funds for the crew, explore new options for missions and clients, run side missions, and maybe even settle old scores. So as you can see, this game is perfect for longer campaigns. Concerning campaign currencies, your crew will earn and rely on two types of currencies in the campaign, which are wealth and story points. You start every new campaign with a crew wealth score of 5 and 2 story points. You can think of wealth points as a more abstract measure of your crew's spending power. Think of story points as your crew's reputation and list of accomplishments. They will sometimes provide a certain cachet mere wealth cannot buy. You have campaign goals. That is, you can set a campaign goal at the start of any new campaign, and this gives you a target to shoot for and sets a definite end point for your adventures. There are some suggested campaign story point targets. For example, if it's a brief campaign, you only need to earn 10 story points. Intermediate campaigns need 15 story points and so on. So like I said, it is quite customizable. Whether you want to run it as a short campaign or as a longer campaign, the game has you covered. Now, when it comes to the new campaign Maiden mission, if you're starting a new campaign, you grab a freshly shuffled deck of 52 playing cards and deal yourself one card. Then, you check a table. You consult the detailed description for more on the result, so you can obtain perhaps the result of Old Patron. You start the campaign with a job for an old patron. You've served this client well in the past, so they are paying you 2 extra wealth points for this job. Maybe you obtain the result of Charity Mission. You start the campaign working for a party who can't really pay you your standard fee. you earn 1 less wealth point for this job. However, you gain +1 story points to your starting total. Maybe you obtain the result of Ambushed. This campaign starts with a fight you didn't see coming. Before the battle begins, you choose one crew member to make a perception check. If you fail the check, your opponent gains a minor character ally for this first battle. In player versus player, you randomly select one of the two crews to make this check. Now, this core rulebook includes a number of scenarios that you can play as player versus player or as solo or co-op games. They give you all the information concerning the solo and co-op model morale for a particular mission. You also have information on the scenario setup, of course, the objectives, the special rules, the rewards. So I'm just going to give you some names of these scenarios. You have the scenario of Control the Artifacts. You also have Desperate Defense. There's also the scenario of Street Fight. You also have Shootout at the Pleasure Palace and Sunken Salvage, to name a few. Each of these scenarios contains different objectives. Sometimes you will have to protect something or someone, you will have to attack, you will have to move through the battlefield and activate specific targets or objectives. There could be waves of enemies, maybe you need to rescue someone. You have a total of 6 scenarios included in this rulebook, and you have all the information concerning what happens in the aftermath. Between each scenario, perhaps one of your characters ends up captured. You also have information on the spoils of combat. Maybe you obtain some very valuable things, story points, wealth points as I mentioned. You can upgrade your crew, obtaining permanent bonuses for your stats. You could even obtain some unusual advantages. For example, you could gain an unexpected ally, or maybe there is a dimensional shift and you gain a free move after battle setup, or you could save this ability to escape one close combat with no free attacks during battle. Advancements can be handled in a random or non-random way, and you also have the option to earn more money between scenarios. There is also an Upkeep Phase, where you need to pay your crew members, heal them, pay maintenance and docking fees for your starship, and you also need to pay up for any special gear that requires additional upkeep. And if your crew is having money problems, there is an optional rule to convert story points to crew wealth score points. There are also other business related things that you can do. For example, you could acquire rare or esoteric items, you can fence your goods, you could attempt to clone a comrade, and in some cases there are some very strange things. In some objectives or random events from these scenarios, for example, your crew members could end up possessed by some sort of ghost, so you could try to exorcise your crew members. You could find a new patron, you could try to carry out a heroic quest, you could make an arrest or participate in research or some sort of mercenary work, or perhaps a criminal enterprise. There are several options when it comes to what you can do between missions. After all of that, we have information on enemies and non-combatants. You have rules for henchmen, covering grouping and how to handle them as a single unit in melee. You also have rules when it comes to multiple foes against henchmen in ranged combat. You have fully statted archetypes with their gear. You have civilians in space if you want to introduce bystanders to your scenarios. And like I said, in the missions included in this rulebook, you already have that setup, including various non-player characters, allies, and enemies. You have stats for bounty hunters, drones, future primitives. Maybe you are visiting a planet of low technology level. You also have civilian stats, hired muscle, agents of the Imperium, lesser beasts, scientists, star cops, and all of the information for you to come up with your own non-player characters. We also have information on the RPG mode, of course. You can run this game as a tabletop role-playing game, with a game master and players. So you have all of the information concerning power level. Maybe you want to start with player characters that are a bit more powerful. You also have details concerning movement, for example if you want to use a grid or a hex map. You also have details on making non-player characters, resources, milestones, wealth, skills, everything is covered. Then you have information on optional rules, specifically vehicle creation and combat. While Farthest Star is not a vehicle-based combat game, there are some rough vehicle rules for you to use them in your games. These rules will allow you to represent anything, from primitive conveyances like wagons to modern vehicles like cars, hovercrafts, grab tanks, or even walking mechanical death machines. If you wanted a dreadnought sort of thing, you can have that. This vehicle system is quick and easy when it comes to building vehicles and using them in play, but it sacrifices some complexity or greater level of details. So if you want to build upon this system, it is encouraged. So you have all of the details covering stats, the attack of the vehicle's defense, sensors, vehicle stat dice, the size of the vehicles, the crew. They work quite similar to your standard trooper in this game, but you have other features like, for example, amphibious capacity, all-terrain traits, a combat computer. For example, the vehicle possessing this trait may move and fire in the same turn, even if they do not possess the robot brain trait or extra crew. You also have things such as flight, heavy armor, rules to enter and exit a vehicle, how to make attacks against specific crew members or the vehicle itself, information covering how vehicles could ram, punch or sideswipe other vehicles or characters in the game. And of course there are rules: if a vehicle explodes, it damages everything around it. After that we have the Afterword and Play Aids section, containing some thoughts by the author, Scott R. Pyle, concerning the inspiration behind this game. And you have play sheets such as armor and weapon bonus summary sheets. You have a solo AI summary, so all of that is going to be very handy when running your games. Overall, what do I think of Farthest Star? I think this is an excellent sci-fi skirmish game. It contains great value. Not only can you play it as a competitive game, you can also play it as a solo or co-op experience, you can play it as a role-playing game, and it is very complete when comparing it to other more high-budget productions. There are some really good skirmish games out there, but some of them lack vehicle rules. Some of them are not too flexible when it comes to the sorts of crews that you can create, and many of them lack the solo and co-op rules. So there is great value in this sci-fi skirmish game. If someone were to ask if I could recommend a sci-fi skirmish game to them, I would without a doubt recommend this one, because of its completeness and the ease of play provided by the goal system engine that is used to power the rules in this game. It's a simple dice pool, but with enough granularity because of the traits and the things that you can do, that it can easily satisfy those that are looking for more options when it comes to strategies and tactics. So my highest recommendation for Farthest Star. This is an amazing sci-fi game. If you are looking for something of medium complexity when it comes to the system itself, that is very rich when it comes to the depth of the campaign sequence, and with all of those options to play it as a competitive solo or co-op experience, it's going to be great for any occasion, with any group of players. Thank you for watching this review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.